Hello and welcome to Reporters, the very best from our reporters and journalists from around the world. In this programme, we take a closer look at Israeli settlement building in the West Bank. After an initial freeze on construction when Benjamin Netanyahu took office, monitoring groups like Peace Now claim the Israeli government has begun pursuing a policy of settlement building to undermine any two-state solution to the conflict. Already this year, Israel has announced tenders to build 450 new homes on Palestinian lands occupied since 1967, a move deemed illegal under international law. The building projects are routinely condemned by the US, the UN and the EU as obstacles to peace. Some 2.7 million Palestinians live in the West Bank. Around 400,000 Israeli settlers, or 5% of the Israeli population, have also now taken up home there. New settlements like YAKIR, southwest of Nablus, which first sprung up in 2013, continue to grow. Yorai Lieberman sent this report.
YAKIR, a new development of 150 homes, 20 kilometres from Tel Aviv city centre, under an hour's drive from Jerusalem. Braha Miriam's just moved into this well-appointed new home, and she's pleased to have left the hustle and bustle.
I can't live in Yerushalayim for money-wise and otherwise, and it's not possible. When we decided to buy the house, our house, we just saw a mountain. A mountain, that's what there was here.
The businessman who sold this slice of the countryside to be built on says it represents a great deal.
Houses nearby cost 900,000 euros, but here just 350,000.
So why the difference in price? The answer's simple. The more expensive properties are in Israel, YAKIR is in the West Bank. It's one of 120 Jewish settlements there, recognised by the Israeli state but classed as illegal under international law. To many moving here, that discrepancy is not their main concern.
People are looking for a good quality of life, a sense of community, and affordable housing. The fact it's in the West Bank, for some that's an advantage, for others an inconvenience.
Here, real estate's affordable for a reason. In the areas of the West Bank under its control, Israel's earmarked plots of land for construction. Despite the objections of the Palestinians and the international community, the settlement building continues apace. For promoters, it's an opportunity to make money and reduce costs by using cheap Palestinian labour.
My husband's brother is building in the city. Nobody's going to ask him, how does he feel if an Arab, Palestinian, whatever you want to call it, worker is building his house. Somebody's going to ask him. They're going to ask me, because why? Because I live here. So really, I don't see a difference. So I say I feel fine, because I do feel fine. And look.
One difference is that in general, Palestinian labourers earn less than the Israeli minimum wage. A housing crisis in Israel means many people are looking to relocate, and economic concerns are trumping ideological ones for increasing numbers of settlers.
The trends reversed over the last couple of years. Now people are thinking more about money than the fact that they're settlers. They have to earn a living, so they think about themselves and where they live first. Their country and the land they're living on comes second.
Wassam Hassan is the Arab-Israeli boss of a flourishing construction business. His company is based around two distinct kinds of employee. On one side, the Arab and Jewish Israeli management, which operates under Israeli labour laws. On the other, the Palestinians actually doing the building. Their legal status is less clear, their financial one less lucrative.
We work throughout the region only in Jewish settlements. We've been given permission by the Israeli authorities. Why do we get so much work? Because we're based here and our prices are reasonable. We have about 100 people working for us at any one time, mainly Palestinians.
Like thousands of Palestinians, Ibrahim and Subhi earn their life building Jewish settlements. Unemployment in the territory stands at 30%. And the settlers offer a better salary than Palestinian employers for doing the same job.
Mahmoud Abbas asked the Palestinians not to work for the settlers, not to sell their products. But if you tell that to the workers, they'll say, OK, I'll stop working the minute you pay me 1,200 to 1,300 euros. That's what I need to support my family.
Some people are angry at us for working here, but we don't have the choice. There aren't enough jobs. Everything's really expensive. You can't live on what you earn in the Palestinian territories. I'm doing this job to feed my children.
There are 7 workers here, all Palestinians. They don't like being filmed.
To work in the settlements, Palestinians need clearance from the Israeli security services before receiving a special permit. About 10,000 are issued each year, and they can be taken away at any time. On site, special measures are also required of employers.
I keep watch over the workers. They must have a guard with them. They're Palestinians. As far as I know, none of the workers here have committed an attack.
The Israeli army hands out the work permits, and one of their conditions if I bring workers into the settlements is that they're accompanied by a guard. I have to provide 1 guard for every 7 to 8 workers. It shows a total lack of trust, but it's what they've decided. Is it reasonable? No, I wouldn't work with a guard watching over me.
In the south of the West Bank, in the mountains between Bethlehem and Hebron, lies Gush Etzion. It was here that Israel's settlement policy began 48 years ago. Since then, almost 400,000 Jews have come to live in the West Bank. A further 200,000 live in East Jerusalem, which Palestinians want as the capital of a future state. ELYASHIV comes from an ultra-nationalist settler family and grew up in Hebron. Now 34, he lives with his wife and 7 children in the outpost of Havat Ma'on. The young businessman takes us to another settlement nearby, Tekoa. For him, there's no question of employing Palestinians.
That over there is the Herodian, the tomb of King Herod. And that little settlement over there is Deba. As you can see, Tekoa these days is full of Arabs. I don't know how many Jews there are. The Israeli state has left building here to the Arabs. And I don't work with them, because I cannot work with anyone who, deep down, doesn't want me to be here.
ELYASHIV's business model is unusual for the West Bank. No mass construction here, just a few villas. Clients are chosen according to their views.
There's a huge amount of money changing hands in cash form. It's the market where there's the most liquidity, but it ends up in the pockets of those who do not contribute to growth. It's a paradox. If we were talking about buying cucumbers, well, fair enough. But we're talking about the biggest purchase in one's life.
Working exclusively with Jews has an impact on property prices. They're generally 15 to 30% higher than with companies who employ Palestinian workers.
This project, and the roof we're on, belongs to a young couple who chose me to build their home. They could have chosen another company and saved a lot of money.
That's the kitchen. Here's the living room. And there's the dining room. If you're eating here, you can see Herodian, like a painting with its clay colours. It's really homely, and it's all ours.
This is home.
Why give work to an Arab when you can give it to a Jewish brother? There are many Jews who need work.
She has a real conviction that the workforce should be as Jewish as possible, and that comes from her education. As for me, working with our brothers just feels like the right thing to do.
Shlomo works for ELYASHIV. He too prefers a Jewish workforce, but for different reasons.
When Jews work with Arabs, they're exploiting them. They're exploiting people who are badly paid and who don't have the same employment rights as me. I feel better working with colleagues who are equal.
Back to Hussam Hassan's construction site. AMNON HEVER is building his son's house here. He introduces us to his Palestinian foreman. The pair go back years.
I've known him for 25 years. This is the third house I've built for him. He's like a member of the family, my brother.
Well, I think it's very good to employ Palestinians. That way they can earn a living, and we can break down prejudice. If one day we're going to resolve our differences, the best way is through working together, not through separation.
Working together to achieve one party's goal. ELYASHIV, the settler, Ibrahim and Shlomo, the construction workers, Hussam, the Arab-Israeli boss. Participants proudly or reluctantly in an economy devoted to expanding Israel's settlements in the West Bank. Each day, the bulldozers dig away slowly at the hope of a viable Palestinian state.
All of the political maneuvering, the peace talks, nothing has changed since I was born. It didn't before and it won't after I'm dead. It's all just smoke and mirrors.
I hope there will be a Palestinian state and an Israeli one, and that we can all live side by side. But at the end of the day, that's for the politicians to work out. All I can do is get on with my job.
For me, the creation of a Palestinian state is inevitable, and I think it has to happen.
If they couldn't solve the problem 30 or 40 years ago before the settlements, how are they supposed to do it now? These days we live overlapping one another. Our lives are interlocked. If you ask me if there will be peace, I say no.
For months now, violence between Palestinians and settlers has been on the rise. The peace process remains blocked over settlements, and all the while, the construction continues.
Now, for more on his report, Yorai Lieberman joins us from Tel Aviv. Yorai, thanks for your time. Obviously, tensions are still rife between Israel and the Palestinians, but you've shown us the dynamics at play as building continues, this paradox of Palestinians working alongside the settlers. How unique is this?
This is actually not unique. There are different domains in which Palestinians are working with settlers. They are in the settlements and around it. There are industrial zones with factories and Israeli companies in different domains. It can be plastic, aluminium, furniture, food, anything else, in which you can see Palestinian workers working side by side with settlers, working on the same production line or in any other room. There is a big sector of agriculture sector. Palestinians are working. This is mainly in the Jordan Valley. They are working for Israeli settlements in this region, and there is a very big supermarket in Gush Etzion in this settlement block that we saw in the report, in which Palestinians and Israelis are working in this huge supermarket, selling goods to Palestinians and to Israelis. So this kind of working together is not really unique for the construction industry.
Now, back in 2005, we saw the Israeli military forcibly remove thousands of settlers from the Gaza Strip as part of an Israeli government disengagement plan there. But West Bank settlements are on a much, much larger scale. How unlikely is it that they'll ever be removed as part of any peace deal?
This is a great question, because Gaza Strip was very big operation. It was the first time that such on a large-scale operation happened, evacuating so many people. By the way, just to have an idea, the Jewish Israeli settlers in Gaza Strip, when it was evacuated, were not more than 8,000 people. Today in the West Bank we are talking about more than 350,000 people. So this is a completely different amount of people. This is the first thing. The second thing is that the Gaza Strip is kind of closed. And so once Israel or the military knew that all the settlers are outside from the Gaza Strip, they locked the doors or the gates, no one could go back in. In the West Bank, the situation is completely different because there is no closed area. So people can come in and out. If you know the area or the region, you can enter, you can come back. And this happened already a few times when settlements were evacuated and then settlers went back to the hills, went back to populate the hills. So this seems to me a completely different operation that needs to be done, and this is obviously part of a deal with the Palestinians that will have to be, as far as it seems, have to be something in a collaboration of both sides, I guess.
Yorai Lieberman in Tel Aviv, thank you very much for your report and for joining us. And that's all for this edition of Reporters. If you'd like to watch any of our programmes again, do visit our website, france24.com. Bye for now.